the work for us behind the scenes every day. It truly takes a village.
All right, on that note, we'll get started. We'll donate them, Lou.
Amber, with the status of labor talks with so many free agents, with an expansion draft, do you have any idea what this offseason might even look like? And if you don't, how do you kind of go?
What if I told you that the Indiana Fever's roster for 2026 had already been planned in secret, and the WNBA has never seen anything like it? A tremendous roar has replaced the whispers, all due to a purported leak from within the Fever organization that shows a super team so stacked that it might completely upend the league. Building around, if you appreciate this content, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Believe it or not, more than 83% of viewers haven't subscribed yet. It's free and only takes a second, but it means the world to us. So, did you subscribe already? Great. Thank you so much for your support. Now, back to the video. Caitlin Clark is not the only goal here. It's about putting together a dynasty through bold, nearly unthinkable actions that were supposed to go unnoticed. However, we must comprehend the backdrop before getting into the details. This is unlike anything the WNBA has ever seen. Not the Sparks championship runs, not the Mercury's domination in the 2000s, and not even the most recent attempts by Seattle or Las Vegas to become dynasties. The purported plans of the Fever go beyond conventional team-building exercises. The possibilities inside the league's framework have been completely reimagined. A huge risk that might either permanently solidify their legacy or turn into the most spectacular failure in the history of professional basketball. The Fever supporters longed for a real competitor for years. Legends like Tamika Catchings were formerly part of the brand, but it has fallen on hard times. There was a noticeable hunger in Indianapolis after season of subpar play, missing the playoffs, and witnessing other teams win titles. Once among the league's most ardent supporters, the fan base had declined. There was a decline in attendance. The company was at a turning point. Either swing for the fences or rebuild deliberately and gently. There was unheard of excitement when Caitlin Clark arrived, selling out venues all across the nation and attracting media attention that the Fever hadn't received in more than 10 years. Even the most optimistic predictions were surpassed by Clark's debut campaign. Her logo, three-pointers, no-look passes, and fierce competitiveness inspired basketball fans all across the world, not just in Indianapolis. Sales of merchandise surged. Fever games had a threefold increase in television ratings. The Clark effect was genuine, palpable, and revolutionary. However, something much more grandiose was developing behind the scenes. We are discussing a covert operation, a strategy for supremacy painstakingly developed by the Fever's front office. A strategy intended to guarantee an era of unchallenged dominance rather than just one title. Supporting Clark wasn't the only objective. The goal was to produce an unstoppable, unguardable force. And the first piece of this startling puzzle has a name that will leave many people stunned. Consider Sophie Cunningham, who is renowned for her unrelenting hustling and clutch shooting, as a fundamental cornerstone rather than merely a complementary element. The materials that were revealed point to a blatant attempt to sign Cunningham as a free agent in 2026, intending to directly complement Clark's playmaking with her deft shooting and tenacious defense. This is more than just a clever signing. It's a calculated move meant to open up new possibilities for the Fever, redefining WNBA offenses by the creation of a backcourt connection. Cunningham is the ideal target because of her career trajectory. She has established herself as one of the league's most dependable three-point threats while keeping an advantage that scares opponents. She was a proven winner with Phoenix. Her experience and tenacity would be the ideal balance to Clark's brilliant inventiveness, forming a powerful team. However, this signing is about more than just basketball fit. The Fever had been discreetly developing a relationship with Cunningham's representation for more than 18 months, according to the records that were leaked. Meetings in secret in cities that are neutral. Casual dinners that seem to happen by accident. Even deliberate social media exchanges intended to sow seeds. Phoenix's front staff didn't seem to realize they were in risk of losing one of their major contributors since the wooing was so delicate and expertly carried out. Cunningham is said to have received an incredible financial deal. A maximum contract extension that would rank her among the league's highest-paid guards. However, the Fever added something even more valuable to the deal. A legacy pledge. They convinced her that she would be Clark's Batman's Robin. Jordan, the Pippen to her. Steph Curry is the Klay Thompson to her. They pledged titles, plural, and depicted a dynasty in which her contribution would go down in WNBA history. Additionally, the signing would upset the balance of competition in the league. Clark would have unprecedented space to work thanks to Cunningham's ability to space the floor. Defenses would have to make a difficult decision. Give in to Clark and allow Cunningham to make lethal three-pointers. Or admire Cunningham's shooting while Clark uses her passing and scoring to analyze them. Coaches will be terrified of this pick-your-poison situation. However, that wasn't the entire tale. Cunningham is not the end of the purported roster. There are rumors that another high talent was discreetly targeted by the Fever. They would have an unmatched presence in the paint thanks to a powerful inner energy. It appears that this guy, a current MVP contender for 2026, was courted behind closed doors. A maneuver so subtle that the other WNBA teams were fully unaware of it. League insiders have been wildly speculating, even though the leaked documents don't specifically name this player, possibly because they were purposefully deleted or preserved in code names. Is it a flexible forward capable of both protecting the rim and stretching the floor? A conventional post player who controls the boards and gives the Fever the physical presence they've lacked? Or maybe a two-way star who can anchor the defense and score at all three levels? The compensation plan that was negotiated is what we do know from the leak. We are discussing a supermax agreement. The type of contract where depth may be sacrificed in favor of star power and imaginative salary cap maneuvering is necessary. In order to make the numbers work, the Fever's financial team reportedly ran hundreds of scenarios, examining every option available under the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement. A club created for an almost unfair advantage is represented by the sheer chutzpah of acquiring such a top-tier player to complement Clark and Cunningham. It would be more than just a huge three. It would cover every facet of the game and be a perfectly balanced trifecta. Cunningham's intense defense and perimeter shooting, Clark's superb playmaking and shooting, and this unidentified superstar's commanding interior presence. According to sources, the Fever might have provided incentives other than pay. Equity in joint ventures. Post-career opportunities inside the company are guaranteed. Even contribute to roster construction and coaching decisions. These pledges raise concerns about league oversight and competitive fairness, blurring conventional boundaries in professional sports. This brings us to the genius behind it all. The purported exposé depicts the general manager of the Fever as being prepared to engage in high-stakes chess, making strategic decisions that are both astute and, some would contend, startlingly early to be made public. In order to secure these stars well in advance, the strategy included aggressive cap management and sometimes even contentious pledges, betting on a future that is now visible to everyone because of this disclosure. This general manager was known for being a creative thinker when he took over the Fever's basketball operations just 3 years ago. As a former player who became an executive, they had a variety of opinions on the game. More significantly, though, they were aware of contemporary sports business, the significance of market timing, the worth of star power, and the courage to take calculated chances that others wouldn't dare. According to the leaked internal memos, the leader was an avid researcher of NBA superteam formations. Every case study was examined for lessons, from the Heat's Big Three to the Warriors' dynasty to the Nets' attempt at a super team. What was effective? What didn't work? How should the wage cap and unique structure of the WNBA be used differently? The research was so extensive that it bordered on academic. However, there is a more sinister aspect to take into account. According to some of the messages that have been made public, the general manager may have been meddling with players who were still under contract with other teams. This is a major infraction of league regulations that might lead to severe fines, the loss of draft picks, or even forced resignation. If verified, the timing of certain talks would be damning proof that players were negotiated with prior to allowable free agency windows. This action demonstrates an executive who is willing to push all boundaries in order to win a championship. This raises the question of whether the franchise's future is being recklessly gambled with or led by visionaries. The outcome could not only decide the Fever's future, but it could also change how aggressive front offices function throughout the league. The GM's earlier actions now resemble the placement of chess pieces in preparation for this last move. In the context of freeing up salary space and preserving flexibility for this enormous 2026 push, trading away future assets, refusing to match some offer sheets, and making apparently perplexing personnel moves all suddenly make sense. There would be immediate and profound repercussions throughout the WNBA. The horrifying possibility of this super team coming to pass is reportedly causing rival general managers to panic. Meetings for emergencies have been called. Front offices that believed they were well positioned for 2026 and beyond now find themselves doubting everything. Fans are furious. Some are thrilled about the possibility of an invincible fever, while others are protesting the creation of a super squad that would upset the league's competitive equilibrium for years. Discussions concerning competitive parity, the value of entertainment against the spirit of competition, and whether the WNBA should enact stronger regulations to avoid such talent concentrations have erupted on social media. Now that they may be up against a truly unprecedented juggernaut in a matter of seasons, every other organization needs to reassess their entire approach. Teams that had planned to make small adjustments are now thinking about making bold changes of their own. The free agency market for 2025 and 2026 is in total disarray, and agents are using this information to increase the worth of their clients. After their recent triumph, the New York Liberty are apparently considering their own counterattacks. Could they put together a competing super team to compete? Due to its history of winning championships, Las Vegas is reportedly speeding up its own hiring processes. Every contender, including Connecticut, Seattle, and Phoenix, is currently in a panic, attempting to figure out how to stop the fever from gaining an unbeatable edge. League office representatives are in a challenging situation. Are they able to step in? Do they have to? The WNBA has long taken pleasure in maintaining a competitive balance, but what justification do they have to stop this super team development if all moves are legally permissible? Insiders in the commissioner's office point to contentious discussions on possible rule changes, but any changes would require consent from the players' union and team owners, two organizations with conflicting interests. According to reports, television networks are ecstatic. For ratings and plotlines, the possibility of a dynasty, villain stories, and David versus Goliath plots is pure gold. Promotional campaigns centered on the Fever's prospective supremacy and the league's battle to stop them are already being imagined by ESPN, CBS, and other broadcast partners. Teams in smaller markets are especially afraid. When one team may have 3 or 4 of the best 15 players in the league, how can they compete for resources and fan attention? For franchises who are already having trouble with local broadcast deals and attendance, the competitive disparity might be disastrous. And everyone would be shocked by what transpired next. How did these well-guarded plans leak? Was it a disgruntled employee, an internal leak, or maybe a competitor company spreading misleading information to cause mayhem? The rumors point to possible sabotage, an effort to undermine the Fever's meticulously built kingdom before it has a chance to take shape. The leak inquiry has turned into a theater unto itself. To find the source, the Fever organization has engaged a private security company that specializes in corporate espionage. All employees who have access to confidential documents have been questioned. Experts in digital forensics are searching servers, analyzing metadata on files that have been compromised, and monitoring strange data movements. An angry assistant general manager who was passed over for a promotion was the initial theory. This person allegedly felt unloved and disrespected despite having access to high-level strategic materials. However, when the assistant offered a convincing alibi and their digital fingerprints were absent from the compromised documents, that story fell apart. The next suspect was a scout from a competing squad who had briefly been employed by Fever. Would they have been able to continue using internal systems? Before they left, did they steal documents? Once more, however, this theory was not supported by the facts. Information from discussions that took place months after this person left was included in the papers that were leaked. A darker possibility has surfaced. What if the leak was inside and was planned by an employee who didn't agree with the super team approach? This aggressive strategy would have been viewed as incompatible with basketball's team spirit by a coach or executive who supported building through the draft and development. This view has gained momentum, especially since more information indicates that the leaker was intimately aware of both the plans and the internal discussions surrounding them. This already dramatic discovery is further complicated by the fact that the motivation is still unknown. Was it competitive sabotage, retaliation, conscience, or perhaps a calculated move by the general manager? A calculated leak intended to put pressure on some players and drive them to make trades they wanted? Conspiracy theorists even speculate that the league office itself may have been involved, quietly making sure these intentions were made public in order to generate the opposition required to support new team-building regulations. The timing of several league policy talks has drawn criticism, even though this seems improbable. Personal relationships and behind-the-scenes dynamics that were intended to remain confidential have also been revealed by the leak. The team's analytics department's psychological profiles, pay bargaining tactics, and texts exchanged between players and executives have all been made public. Rebuilding secrecy inside the organization will take years due to the massive breach of trust. How about the players themselves? Although Caitlin Clark has not made any public statements, people close to her claim that she is both thrilled and overwhelmed by the scope of what is being planned for her. Is she prepared to be the focal point of this kind of operation? She entered the league with the intention of winning. There would be tremendous pressure. For her side, Sophie Cunningham has released a carefully worded statement via her agent that neither confirms nor refutes the Fever's purported pursuit. However, people with knowledge of the matter claim that she is fascinated. It is alluring to have the chance to participate in something significant and to fight for several titles. However, relationships with teammates, loyalty to Phoenix, and the possibility of public outrage if she is perceived as ring-chasing must all be taken into account. Whoever the mystery MVP contender is, they are now in a difficult position. Before they've even made a choice, their existing team and support base may turn against them if their identity is made public. A well that the Fever spent months meticulously preparing may have been contaminated by the early exposure. There is uncertainty for the other Fever players on the roster. To create cap space, will they be traded? Will they take on smaller parts to make room for superstars? In anticipation of potentially becoming collateral damage in this massive operation, a number of role players have covertly hired additional agents. Players are discussing in private what this implies for their personal careers and the balance of competition around the league. Should mid-tier players stick with their present clubs, where they have bigger responsibilities, or pursue super teams in hopes of winning championships? The philosophical arguments are similar to those that dominated the NBA during different periods of super teams. The Players' Union is keeping a close eye on things. They acknowledge that an overabundance of talent could be detrimental to the league's overall health and possibly lower the total amount of money available for contracts, but they also want their members to have maximum earning potential and freedom of movement. Let's discuss numbers. It takes incredible financial acumen to make this roster function. Despite increasing, the WNBA's pay cap still necessitates innovative management in order to field 3 elite players in addition to capable secondary players. According to reports, the Fever's financial team has devised a multi-year strategy that makes use of minimum wage exceptions, trades for cap relief, bird rights, and possibly even players who are prepared to accept small discounts in exchange for the opportunity to win titles. However, the financial picture is more comprehensive. It appears that the Fever's ownership group, which consists of multiple billionaire investors, is prepared to run at a considerable short-term loss in exchange for the long-term benefit of a championship dynasty. With continued success, the franchise's value would soar, making the current losses an investment worth making. Opportunities for sponsorship would skyrocket. In a place like Indianapolis, a club with several superstars may attract higher prices from national businesses willing to partner with champions. The Fever has Wnba T20, and it appears that they have already had first discussions with big businesses about becoming presenting sponsors, subject to competitive success. Revenue from television would rise significantly. Increased publicity and higher rights fees result from more nationally televised games. Like the Lakers or Warriors in the NBA, the Fever might emerge as the top attraction in the WNBA. The league as a whole might profit financially from that rising tide. But there are dangers. The financial obligations would be catastrophic if the super team failed to win titles. The franchise would suffer years of setbacks due to contract dead money, a lack of tradable assets, and diminished credibility. It really is an all-out risk. Although there have been strong teams in WNBA history, nothing quite like what the Fever are purportedly planning. The Houston Comets' 4 straight titles were mostly won by the same core group of players who developed together. Instead of building a super club from the ground up, the recent Las Vegas Aces dynasty was constructed by astute drafting and free agency. The Fever plan is an example of. Please share your thoughts in the comments section. subscribe, and enable all notifications so you don't miss anything. We'll see you in the next one after you click the video on the screen.